Well, it's Groundhog's Day. Again, Zach Wilson era returns for the New York Jets. We talk about it.
Zoinks! It is unequivocally the Super Bowl for New York Jet fans.
Field Yates, baby. Field gosh darn Yates. Let's bring him on the show.
Come on, people. Connor Rogers is joining the show. What's up, Connor? But Trevor gosh darn Sycamore, baby, for me, personally, my favorite New York Jet of all time.
Wow, it's great to be on. What an intro that was right there.
Paul, nobody does an intro like you, man.
Paul, you give the best intro of literally any podcast that I've ever been.
I'm gonna lose my gosh darn bananas.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Paul Esden Jr., a.k.a. Boy Green. I'm the New York Jets digital reporter for Heavy.com. Let me just make sure I got it right. Aaron Rodgers, Zach Wilson, Tim Boyle, Trevor Siemian, Zach Wilson? All right, here we go. Let's keep this train rolling, and let's bring in our guest for today's show. The Jets Zach Wilson era is alive, featuring Will gosh darn Parkinson, baby. Good morning, Will.
How you doing, man? Hell of an intro as always.
Yeah, wow. Okay. I'm going to be honest. I anticipated us having this, whatever you want to call it, we're doing the show on Thursday, but this Wednesday thing. Ooh, who's going to be playing quarterback this week? And door number 2, and Saleh playing game show host. But he cut all that off, saying not only is Zach Wilson the guy for this Texans game, but God willing, which was a very unique way to put it, will be the guy for the rest of the season, barring injury. What do you make of that after all the hoopla this week?
Yeah, barring injury, right? Since he was reluctant to play because of injury. Look, it's just a story that's never going to end, it feels like, until they cut him. Unfortunately, they've kind of put themselves in this situation from an organizational perspective. It's not just Robert Saleh. I know Robert Saleh takes all the heat. I don't think Robert Saleh is the only one making the call on quarterback. I think we've kind of seen that already, that it's not just the Saleh decision. So, look, he's better than Tim Boyle and Trevor Siemian. Make of that what you will. That's an interesting bar. I still think you see Brett Rippon at some point this year. I just have a feeling the Jets get to 5 quarterbacks in 17 weeks. It's the way the season's gone. But yeah, look, you hope Zach goes out and plays well, or plays a good game by the standards he's kind of set. It's hard to we kind of did this last year. He came back for that Lions game and everyone was like, oh, he's going to let it rip and it's going to be so different. And he had moments, but it's kind of the same thing. It kind of felt like, he's got these moments in games and these flashes that you see, but he's got to string together a consistent game. And Houston's defense is a defense he's very familiar with. He's seen this defense for 3 years in practice. I don't know. It's hard to know what to make of it. I just think the Jets have done a lot of trying to shuffle, chairs around on the Titanic. I think I've heard that expression about 15 times this week, and I'm sure we'll use it about 5 more times in the next 15 minutes. So, it's crazy, but I did enjoy the barring injury one, only from the aspect of the entire report was around Zach not wanting to get hurt.
Yeah, that is sort of ironic, isn't it? That's kind of interesting. By the way, speaking of Titanic, that's a beautiful way to put it. If what you prognosticate happens, and Brett Rippon at one point enters the game for the New York Jets, pull out the guys and the violin saying, we're just going to do this one more time, boys. They're like, yes, let's get him out. And then they just start. That would be Garrett Wilson's 8th different quarterback he's played with in his first 2 seasons. And obviously there's still 5 games to go. So if that were to happen, that's disgusting.
It's kind of crazy. And what's frustrating is you look at, he's top 5 in the NFL in open score by any metric, by PFF and those folks. He's 1 or 2 in terms of guys that are, against man coverage, the most separation created, things of that nature. You watch him on Sundays. Last week I thought was one of the more frustrating times. There's been more frustrating games as a Jets fan, obviously, right? And there's things like that. But Garrett Wilson was just, there was, Hackett actually, I thought, called outside of second down, like first and third down. He was pretty good for like especially the standard he set this year.
Yeah.
And got and they tried some trick plays, tried to take
Mhm.
some deep shots. They motioned a lot, which was crazy. They Dwayne Brown as the 6th offensive line.
Yeah,
They were doing a lot of things that I think a lot of the fan base has been asking for: is get creative, do different things. What do you have to lose? And he had Garrett Wilson on the deep post, corner post over, and he had one he motioned, but he didn't fully motion in, and kind of just he had a single coverage up the field as a busted coverage, against man, and perfect play call, perfect route. They don't get it to him, so you just feel for Garrett.
Yeah. I think we did lose Will. Let me remove him, add him back in real quick. Will, do we still got you? Yep. All right. Will, I'll remove you real quick. I'll kick you in and see if we could get you back in here. I'll kick you from studio, see if you can bounce back in. But it is kind of wild that we did go from the character arc of Aaron Rodgers to Zach Wilson to Tim Boyle to Trevor Siemian, now back to Zach Wilson. And again, barring injury, God willing, however you want to put it, if the Jets have their druthers, Zach Wilson will be the guy for the rest of the season, which is kind of wild to me. Just kind of wild. I'm just letting Will know. There you go. But yeah, it is just it's just stunning to me that is how it's happened. And this is the next thing I want to get into with Will, because I'm going to be honest, and we have Will Parkinson back, host of the TOJ Gosh Darn podcast, baby. That's right, award winning, spectacular. And Will, I thought it was over. I'm going to be honest. When this report initially came out, I'm like, his ass is done. He's cut. Well, how could you possibly return to the lineup based on the reporting? And obviously, we got more context since then. But even with him, playing the final five because he's the best of what the room has, like, okay, I'm like, well, he's just, he's the guy in the violins. He's playing this ship before it's going to crash into the glacier, and then he's obviously going to get cut during the offseason. But is he? And then thoughts started jumping around my head. I'm like, well, I guess it's possible. Yeah, I don't know how likely, but it's possible. Final 5 games, this let it rip thing you talked about. Again, we had that fleeting thought last year for the Lions game, and there was the CJ Uzomah touchdown. There was moments you're like, but it wasn't like the Chiefs game, like that happened last year after the benching stuff. So unlikely. But what if Zach Wilson just goes, finally something is unlocked here, and he just starts throwing around the barn here, and then we get to the end here, we're like, wait a second here, maybe he should be back as one of the quarterbacks. I don't know if it's primary, because I think a lot of people would be very afraid of that, but if he's one of the guys back behind Rodgers, is that insane? We put a poll up, we'll give those results in a second. Like there is 0% chance, Paul. Shut up. Why would you even bring that up to say unlikely but possible, or I could totally see that? Where are you at on that point?
It's not a crazy thought from the aspect of like I think you're putting on the hat of we've seen crazier things happen with this team. You can never say never.
Yeah.
I would say from 2 aspects, I don't think that's realistic.
Okay.
I think one, I actually think it's hugely beneficial for the Jets if he plays well, because then you could maybe you could do someone, you eat some of the salary and you get a 6th-round pick back, or you get a 20, the McCole Hardman thing, or
Sure.
they do
move
it
up
like
around, right?
You move up around, and you're able to, someone can take on some of his salary, things of that nature. That'd be a huge win, because right now the Jets are going to have to walk away and eat a hell of a lot of money next year, with Zach Wilson. And you're hoping maybe you attach a 3rd-round pick to Zach and you get back a 4th and you drop back around and someone eats his money, so you free that up and you can go sign somebody. That's a potential possibility. I also think that it's better for Zach's career if he moves elsewhere. I just think we've seen a lot. There's been he's gone from backup to starter to backup to 3rd string to inactive to starter to backup, and the whole time he hasn't really produced. And it's been frustrating, I think, for all sides. I don't think the Jets ever foresaw this. You look at the Texans, who they're playing on Sunday, and Texans hired their version of Robert Saleh, awesome defensive coordinator, former linebackers coach in the Shanahan scheme, in that, Pete Carroll, Shanahan style.
It's eerie.
Who learned under Saleh. They had a GM there that had struggled, that had a time obviously before. And then they had drafted number 2. They draft CJ Stroud, and they draft Will Anderson, who's, they're one of their, cornerstone pieces, and they get a small slot receiver and then on day 2, day 3. And, they're already a playoff team. And
Derek Stingley, Sauce.
Yeah, Derek Stingley and Sauce, the Tank Dell at the time, Elijah Moore, and like, you just look and it's frustrating because I think you see where this thing could have gone, could have gone right. Unfortunately for Zach, I will say I'm a little. It is frustrating to look at a lot of the commentary around the story from a lot of people that just don't. I think they don't want to believe that's true.
Correct.
And
right.
It's a true story. It's been confirmed by everybody. Robert Saleh and Aaron Rodgers all but confirmed it. They actually, I think people took it as if they were like shooting it down. They were basically confirming it was true, that they just were kind of talking around, that Rodgers didn't talk to him, which we know he did. And that Saleh didn't know about it, which of course, as based on the reporting, we know he did. Again, it's not a good look for Zach. It's not a good look for anybody, right? Stuff shouldn't come out. Obviously, the Jets building, that's where Rodgers was actually genuinely upset about. And that's what he was kind of hinting at. And it's not a good look for Zach. He's got a lot to prove, and he's a guy that's going to be likely a backup or a quarterback 3 next year somewhere else. And to say you're good on playing, I don't know, man. There's guys that would kill to get an opportunity to start in the NFL. And, as much as Tim Boyle may suck, I'm sure Tim Boyle was worked his entire life and never thought he'd have a chance to start an NFL game. So I'm just saying the whole situation's been difficult, but I don't foresee him being back here. Maybe as a quarterback 3, there's something that happens where he plays really well and they feel comfortable, and his side also probably feels comfortable. I think it's best for a divorce here at the end of the year, but again, I don't think it's out of the question 100% that he could be back, because Joe Douglas has hung on to draft picks a lot longer, than most GMs would. He's given them a lot more leeway. Even with a Denzel Mims, we thought he'd be gone 2 preseasons ago, and he stayed an extra almost year and a half. Ashton Davis, everyone was out on, he's a guy who might get a second contract now. So it's like there's those hints of these guys that actually finally develop. And then even a Michael Carter, I didn't think he'd make the team out of camp, and he was getting a ton of reps. So again, I guess it's a long-winded way of saying no, you're not crazy, but I just think it's better for both sides at the end of the year if the Jets either trade him with a pick or they mutually agree to release, similar we saw with Zach Ertz and Adrian Amos.
Yeah, just because we're dancing in the water. So I just want to clarify, because yesterday Robert Saleh admitted that Zach Wilson's been the best quarterback available the entire time. A lot of people said, what an idiot. Then why'd you bench him, you moron? Well, if we go back, because hindsight apparently is 20/20, you go back to Saleh, Zach Wilson wasn't great. He was the best of crap. Okay. He was the quarterback of an offense that wasn't scoring points. So he was the architect. He was the conductor of the train. So he gets blamed for that. So the Jets owed it to themselves to go, Jesus. All right. Well, door number 2, please. Okay, Tim Boyle, you suck. Oh, door number 3, Trevor Siemian. The tryout was 13 minutes at a random fourth quarter, but still that was enough for them to say, okay, that's good. Let's go back to Zach. And everyone's going, oh, Robert Saleh, what an idiot.
Yeah. Didn't you notice? I think I know it's gotten pointed out. So this isn't I'm not the only one who thinks this. I'm sure you've talked about it too, but everyone pointed, I feel to the wrong thing. They're like, oh, see, they benched Zach for Tim Boyle. Well, why was Tim Boyle the only option? That's the problem.
Yes.
That's what we're all, the people that wanted a change at quarterback, a spark, any of these different things. It wasn't about Zach. Look, they hadn't scored a touchdown in 3 games. I think they had the 3rd or 4th longest non-touchdown streak in NFL history. Yeah. And the one they scored was a screen pass inside the 6-yard line. It's not, in a blowout loss. So that's kind of where that came from. That's why they wanted a spark. That's a normal thing. Look, they changed tight ends. They changed offensive linemen. They changed receiver. They benched all these guys, and Dwayne Brown and Lazard, these people that take up huge cap numbers, Rodgers' buddies that everyone says are untouchable. They've basically benched or cut every single one of them. They, other than play caller and quarterback, they changed literally everything. And even play caller, they put Todd Downing up in the booth. It hasn't really helped, obviously, but they've even tried that. They moved Hackett off the field up to the booth, and they put Downing next to him. There's so much they've tried, and quarterback was the last thing. And, I don't know. I don't know why we'll never really know why Tim Boyle was the number 2 quarterback. We'll never know. It'll come out in 3 or 4 years, or maybe even this offseason once everyone's gone. But that's the real issue here was why was Trevor Siemian signed and then not made active for almost 3 months.
Yeah.
Why was Tim Boyle even on the roster? He was a camp arm. That was Rodgers' buddy. He was the practice squad quarterback. Tim Boyle is your classic practice squad quarterback. Knows the system really well, can really help during the week. He's a good, kind of thinker in mind and well liked in the locker room. That's your third string or fourth string practice squad quarterback to a T. Should never be your number 2. Should obviously never be your starter. No disrespect to him. Like, that's all right. I mean, we've seen this over the years. That's what those guys are. That's the frustrating part, is they went to a spark for a guy that shouldn't have been a number 2 quarterback in the NFL. And Saleh knows it. That's why they never even considered going to him for a long time. So, again, is Brett Rippon some awesome quarterback? No. Is he fun to watch? Yeah, he's fun to watch because he literally doesn't give a F. And he's just going to throw the ball up 50. The Jets have faced him a couple times, and you're going to get a lot of 25. What everyone wants from Zach, you're going to get a much less talented but hilarious version of that with Brett Rippon if he plays. So, no, as you mentioned, I just think that's the real crux of the issue. It's not that they bench Zach. They bench Zach for a guy that had no business even being on an NFL roster.
Right, which is the grander scale problem that I think a lot of people have pointed out. By the way, I've just seen this lot, so I just want to address this, okay? The general. Zach himself tonight, he said that yesterday. Of course he did. Why wouldn't he? He would look like an idiot. He could affect his future football career if other NFL teams really knew 1,000%. Again, it seems like everyone confirmed it, but even him coming out to admit and say, oh, yeah, ooh, yikes, showed a lot of hesitancy to go back out there. That would kill him. So, of course, he's going to say that. Of course, Rodgers going to.
Yeah, remember when they asked him a month ago when Rodgers was like starting to come back in the building, do you think about Aaron coming back? No, I never think about that. Okay. Sure you do.
Like, come on.
You got to be better. We got to be better than that.
Let's get real. So it's a weird situation here, Will, because, technically, mathematically, the Jets are still alive for the playoffs, but we have these random 5 games where all of us know, even if it's not math, that it's over. So, like, what do you want to see? For me, just Zach Wilson bombing up to Garrett Wilson a couple of times. So hopefully some of the young players getting some chutzpah. But, like, besides that, I'm like, gee, I don't know what else I want to see beyond that, to be honest.
Yeah, look, I think I don't know who tweeted this out, but you don't have to root against the team. Like, they're going to do it. They'll lose on their own. You know what I mean? Like, everyone does. Everyone's like, oh, I got to root for the tank. Like, I don't know, man. They haven't been tanking the last 5 weeks and they haven't won a game. So
that's a good point. Yeah.
I think the biggest things you want to see is building some momentum. And I know people claim momentum doesn't affect them. And you can go back to the Gase team that won a bunch of games meaningless at the end of the year.
Right. The way 6-2 in their final 8.
The way they were winning a lot of those
football besides the Ravens.
The way they were winning a lot of those games was crap, right? Like, it was not, they were beating the Steelers 13-10 with the 4-string quarterback. And like, that's not what you want to see. If the Jets end up winning on Sunday and beating Houston, that's a nice win. It'd be a nice win to go up and beat an elite quarterback. And, it's all about how you do it as well. I just feel like most of this team will be back next year. That's why, again, it's a little bit different. This team has a lot of really young, I know they have, the Mosleys and guys like that on the roster that are proven gritty veterans that are like, the all pros. They've accomplished everything. They'll be back, but it's more about getting this losing taste out of your mouth too. They've closed seasons horribly. They haven't won games in December under Saleh. I think they won that Jags game 2 years ago, and when they were picking to pick 4th instead of second or whatever it was. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Things like that, but I don't know, if you go out and Garrett Wilson's producing at a high clip and, we get to clip the graphic and, I tweeted out, you tweeted out, Garrett Wilson extrapolated over 17 games, break Tyreek Hill's record because he had 555 yards. That's the kind of stuff you'd want to see. You want to see, what's Carter Warren, because the first 6 quarters that he played looked really good. Last week looked really bad. Like, what is he, Could he be your swing tackle in the future? So if you do draft the Joe Alt, as I think you tweeted out that, Connor.
Yeah, Connor, baby.
Yeah, like, let's say they do draft Joe Alt. Now is Carter Warren, Joe Alt, and AVT/Becton your 4 tackle options? Like, that's pretty impressive. I'm in for that.
Yeah.
But again, what if he's terrible? And then you're kind of in a Max Mitchell situation where, I don't know if we could trust him to play 6, 7, 8 games, right? Like, you want to just see what you have there. What's Jeremy Ruckert look like? CJ Uzomah is obviously down for the year. Ruckert's looked good in flashes. Can him and Conklin be your solidified tight end duo next year? And can you go into the season going, you know what? We feel really good about the tight end position, and combined they make $7.5 million. Like, let's be efficient there. Can you can Ashton Davis go out and really earn that second contract? Could he compete as a starter next year with him and Tony? Could him and Tony Adams be the guys? Do you save money on Whitehead? Like, again, I'm not saying this is going to happen. I'm just saying these are the things you look at, right? Even you look back 2021, Jason Pinnock moved to safety and looked awesome. And I know he'd obviously make the team, and we can do the whole thing, but he's just now he's a starter in the NFL, and that kind of happened out of that window. The one thing I also want to see is at receiver. I want to see, is Jason Brownlee a legit NFL player, or did everyone kind of get duped by some practice catches and Phil Savage talking about him being a third-round prospect on One Jets Drive? Is Xavier Gibson legit, or is Xavier Gibson a nice wide receiver?
He's been impressive.
Is he Jamison Crowder, as I think Joe Caparosa pointed out, or is he is he kind of there? Those are the things you want to see. And I know everyone hates Lazard, but I'd love to see Lazard get going just a little bit. Like, that way he can wipe 2022 clean or 2023 clean. Yeah. Can you get, one touchdown, get in the end zone and be like, all right, this year sucked for me. It sucked for everybody. I'm going to go into next year. Salah aired out the dirty laundry, by the way, of the it's a year and a half contract.
That was hilarious. When he said that, I almost spit out my drink. When he said that, I'm like, excuse me? And then, I said it, and people were like, yeah, he just said the truth. I'm like, coaches don't do that. Coaches don't do that.
Salah was behind the door.
Yeah. Oh, man. Joe Douglas must have been like, dude, the hell?
No, but then, look, if the cool thing is, and I know answering this question in a long-winded way, but there's two options here. It'd be cool, in some ways, the Jets maybe win 3 of 5, and they finish 7-10. Yeah, I think 7-10. And, they had some momentum, and you're like, you don't have that terrible taste in your mouth, and maybe you see some flashes, as we just talked about. The other option is they go terrible. They suck. They play horribly. They go, Zach looks bad. Everyone looks bad. They're 4-13. And they probably have Marvin Harrison Jr. and Garrett Wilson on their team next year. And you're going, well, Marvin Harrison, Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall, and Aaron Rodgers sounds pretty cool. Like, they're the only way this thing kind of goes the wrong way for the team is I feel like if everyone looks bad and they win 2 or 3 games, that it's like all like just crap. Like you either want to have a really fun, exciting win, like they go beat them, Washington, New England, and maybe they ruin Cleveland's playoff chances, and the Jets go 8-9, and it's like, you know what, man? Like, they were a game out of a playoff spot, and like they've improved technically win totals over the 3 years. You kind of talk yourself into it. I just 5-12, and the only win over the Patriots, and they get Caleb Williams is like the one way I'm like, come on, man. But again, you got it. I know people hate this because they want the draft pick.
Sure.
And the Patriots streak, please. I know maybe I'm emotional about it, but I can't listen to that next year. I can't have the Jets play. It can't be Jets Pats week 2 and be like, well, did you know they haven't beaten the Patriots in New England in 28? Please stop. I'm going to kill myself. I can't listen to it.
That's right. Yeah, I know. That's what I'm kind of like. We've kind of been floating that because obviously I know there's a bunch of weeks before we get to Patriots at the end, but we've been kind of floating that like, hey, streak or draft, and then
see the Patriots win tonight. That's the dream.
That can happen. That can happen.
Let's make it happen.
So happen. Please.
Then you can actively root for the Jets to beat the Patriots.
That's right. Which would be nice. Okay, a couple of quickies before we get out of here. You mentioned the tight end thing, which is really interesting. So like Rucker though has had the penalties, has to look great. I love Conklin, and obviously he's been on both of their shows. I freaking love Conklin. He's been so awesome. But is that good enough? Like, Uzomah's Jets career is probably over. So like, how deep do you go? I've heard, I don't think it was Connor on the Brock Bowers thing. I can't remember who it was, but someone said potentially I don't want that at all, but probably. But I can't remember who said that. You'll know.
Dave Brugler. It was Dave Brugler.
Yes, Dave Brugler. I was like, I knew some big draft person said that. So like, I probably don't want to go that far, but is a significant piece, or should those be the top 2 tight ends next year?
I'm more inclined to say like, I'd be comfortable with it being Conklin and Rucker. And then maybe you draft a guy. I don't know. They kind of did this with Kuntz this year. I think at quarterback and tight end next year, and even offensive lineman, I'd love to see in the draft just like day 3 be like just dart throws at quarterback, tight end, and offensive line. Sure. And like you hope 1 or 2 of these guys hit. Mm-hmm. Look, the Vikings did that with Conklin 5 years ago, and
Good
now
point.
right. So I'd look to extend Conklin and maybe lower his cap number next year, and then basically you can have him and Ruckert for the next 2 years, and Rodgers will be able to get the most out of those guys. I'd like to think, so Brock Bowers is there, and the Jets are picking 8. He's kind of a guy that you can play anywhere, so it's like not like you're drafting this true tight end. You're kind of drafting more of a Kelsey, where it's like you're going to need a second tight end anyways because he's going to be running a route 90% of the time.
Right.
I'm a big believer. Like, I know everyone wants the offensive lineman. And again, maybe I'm going to have, whatever the egg on my face, whatever the saying is.
Yeah.
I really want another receiver. I just feel like you look at you look at the Bengals and you look at some of these teams and like you can figure it out and get like average offensive line play with like, Austin Jackson just got, signed to an extension for the Dolphins, which is interesting because his career was going down the drain and all of a sudden now he's making $12 million a year. But I don't know. I look at like, can't you find your George Fant or Morgan Moses again? And like, or like, obviously you hope it's Mekhi or whatever. And maybe it's Mekhi and a Morgan Moses. And like, you have competent tackle play and then you have Marvin Harrison or something like that to me is awesome. Like just, I don't know, or it's Keon Coleman or it's one of these guys.
Maybe,
or Neighbors. Like, I think that'd be pretty cool. I don't know. Like, then no matter who your quarterback is, and if you're trying to attract a guy after Rodgers or you're drafting someone, it's like, oh, dude, you're going to come in and like you're going to have one of the top 5 best young receiving cores in the NFL. And like the Jets just never do that. No. They always are like, we got one guy, we're good. Like, no, man, like go get 2 or 3 guys and like be awesome. Don't just be good. Be awesome.
Yes. Yeah, set the bar higher. Jets Texans prediction before we get you out of here. We got DJ on tomorrow. We got you on today. Come on, Jets Texans.
I'm going to go 17-9. Texans win, but I think the Jets defense looks impressive. I think they turned Stroud over twice. I think it'll be the toughest game he's played. I almost wanted to like go 17-16 Jets win or something. I could see it happening. Like there's a very real possibility it happens. I just feel like until they score touchdowns and until they convert, it's just really hard for me to like. Me and you are incredibly positive. I think we're 2 of the more positive people that do a lot of this stuff. Mm-hmm. It's
until you see it. I mean,
until I see it, dude. I saw the stat last night, when I saw it, I said, I don't even have to fact check this because I know it's true. Jets have not had a running back of a carry inside the 5-yard line this year.
Oh my God! When I saw the stat, I went, "Yeah, that's." True.
I literally thought to myself, I was like. The Eagles one's the only one I could think of that they were even close, and the Bills
that had to have been a 7 or something maybe here.
Yeah. It's just what the heck.
That was only for half a second too. I saw the second go.
I know. I wanted to quote you, and I was like, "You." All right.
That was oh my God! All the stats in the trailer this year. I'm like,
no. No, look. Right. The one thing I really want to see from this game. I'd like to see I know this is unfair, but I'd love to see what the defense can do with CJ Stroud. I think this is such a good matchup. It sucks too. We've said this about 25 different games this year. Oh, if they had a Rodgers or if this game mattered more or all these different things. The Texans offense is so reliant on explosives. Like they're so reliant on these CJ Stroud just, oh my God, plays. The Jets are better than anybody at like, you're not going to get those. Like you're going to have to nickel and dime us to death. I'm just curious what this will look like. This is like 2 identical kind of staffs, more like the Jets staff with LaFleur and stuff like that. How the Jets look with the LaFleur thing is tough. But I think maybe 17-9 Texans win. The way the Jets win, I think, is pretty clear. It's like hold the Texans to under 17 and hope you get either a defensive touchdown, special teams. Can they get a big special teams play?
That'd be nice.
They haven't had that in a while. Yeah, Hardy came back and looked good, and they got a couple down inside the 5 or 10. Can we get a punt block or a kickoff return to like the 50 or something? Just give him good field position so Zerline can hit a 65-yarder because Salah's itching for it.
Yeah, you see him. He's trigger happy in the sideline.
3rd and 9 halfback run so he can kick a field goal.
He's like, we're in perfect position. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
We got phenomenal. A first down. Get Zerline ready.
Yeah, right. I see Shadow Rum said this, so we'll end with this. This is the tweet from Ian Harditz. It's week 14, and for our audio-only listeners, here's the tweet. It's week 14, and Jets running backs have combined for 0 carries inside the 5-yard line this season. That that's a wild stat, and then you just think for like you have shock on your face and what? And then you just go, oh, yeah. That's I don't have to double check that.
Yeah, damn it. That seems right. Like that's
honestly
tracks.
The reaction.
There's like a lot of stats you see. I'm sure you see it all the time because obviously you're able to do a good job of picking up on all these different things. Yeah. There's some you see and you go, I got to check that. Like I don't.
No way.
That seems off. Or there's other ones you go, yep, seems accurate. That was that, and when the Giants had like -7 passing yards or -9, I was like. Yeah, that tracks. How is Tommy DeVito like a legitimate NFL backup? I don't understand. Like,
that he could come in and randomly have 3 touchdown passes, and the fact Zach Wilson has never done
had
that.
3.
Like CJ Stroud this year.
Possible.
Like again, because you're staring in the mirror, right, of what could have been. CJ Stroud having random 400-yard games, 3 touchdown games, 4 touchdown games.
He's one touchdown away from Zach. Stroud
Yeah.
has one less touchdown career than Zach.
Yeah. So, wow. So Zach's beating him right now. Nice.
Zach's up by 1. It's 21-20. Hopefully the Jets win 21-20 and Zach doesn't let him pass him this week. But
yeah, that's what I was about to say. That's
I'm
the
inclined
goal.
to say there's a better chance of the opposite happening. But hey, we're gonna be positive. We're gonna let it rip. I'm gonna be at MetLife. I'm gonna do what I do every time, and I'm gonna talk myself into a Jets win at about 11:30. The grill's going. You know, you open up a nice adult beverage and you go, you know what? They're gonna win today.
Get a couple of head nods. Yeah. Liquid courage. Here we go.
I'm feeling a win, man.
Let's rally. Yeah.
You see that breeze? I'm feeling a win. You're like, why? What do we do? What are we
victory,
doing?
Baby.
Why are we doing this to ourselves? It's
on a week-to-week basis. Impressive, incredible. That's why we do it. Again, guys, make sure you check him out. Will Parkinson, the TOJ podcast. Fun stuff as always. And will be checking you out, of course, for all the shows. Appreciate you.
Yeah, no, I'm excited, man. I'll be on the radio with you tomorrow. So
that's also true. Yeah. So, guys, if you like that as well, NFL talk that'll be at 11:30 on the
Shameless
Sport 1260.
plug.
Yeah, very nice. Good work, Will. You're getting good at this, brother. Look at that guy. What a professional. Phenomenal. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow. DJ Bieneme will be joining us from Houston land. We'll check in with him. That'll be a lot of fun. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.